It's usually before.
Yeah,
See it on
it's
the
on.
screen. There it is. All right. So welcome back to Lunch and Learn. Today, our topic is measuring ROI and demystifying our ROI when it comes to marketing investments. How do we know that what we're doing is actually working? So we are Nate and Simone, and we talk all things marketing. And we're welcoming today in the room. We have Candy with us, yay! And we're gonna get this conversation started. Stay tuned. How you doing, Nate? Want to kick us off?
Good, good. Yeah, thank you. Good to be here again. Hi, Candy. Welcome.
Thank
So,
you.
yeah. So today we're gonna like Simone said, we're gonna be talking about demystifying ROI. The question that kind of kicked things off here is, have you ever wondered which of your marketing efforts actually delivers results? And then I guess a better question would be, who hasn't? Right?
Right.
But so yeah, so that's what we're kind of talking about. So yeah, let's the key points of our conversation here. ROI and how it can be used to justify how much you spend on marketing. Well, first off, I guess the big topic here, why measuring ROI? Why do we do that? So what do you think, Simone?
I think, well, like you said, we want to know what's working, what's not working. Um, I've actually been, for example, I've actually been running some ads to get people to sign up for my challenge. And as I'm doing that, I'm testing out. I have two different ads running, and both have the same video, but they have different text. And I can see from my analytics that one of them is getting more views and more clicks. So that tells me that one is working better than the other.
Okay. Yep. Um, Great.
And I have a
So
question. Where are you running these ads?
I'm running them on Facebook.
Facebook. Okay.
Yes. But you can also and I'm sure we'll talk about this even further, but this also works with if you're not paying for ads. Say you are on Alignable every week, and you are going to say you join a group and you're going to all of their smart connects, um, or you join two groups, you're going to smart connects, and you can, as you're gathering networking contacts and leads, you can decide uh, which group is giving you the best leads. As you're documenting like who you're meeting and what the results are coming out of it. Are you able to actually help the people that you're meeting in this group? And are they actually a good fit for networking with you or for partnering with you? Are you getting customers out of one group more than the other group? That kind of thing. So um, I think the one of the biggest lessons here is really measuring our efforts.
yeah, and with something like that, specifically, it's you're talking about as far as the investment. For first of all, ROI, just so everybody we're on the same page, return on investment, right? And with something like what Simona was talking about with Alignable and visiting different groups and that kind of thing, you are having to figure in the cost of Alignable,
Yes.
and putting a dollar value on your time, right? So
Your
that's
time,
that's
exactly.
that's a key,
Exactly.
figuring that in.
Yeah.
So
And we had a, oh, sorry. What we
no
had a
problem, no
mentor
problem.
too once talk about, like, you going to say you're doing Alignable, but you could be doing other activities outside of Alignable to try and get leads, right? Maybe you joined a chamber of commerce, maybe you joined BNI or something like that. Factoring in the costs of BNI, factoring the costs of your time driving to the meetings, every week, and all of that. So yeah, that's where your ROI comes in.
Yeah, and just so I guess, we're super clear, there is actually a formula for calculating ROI. So,
Oh.
um,
If you want to
it's
get really nerdy about it.
so that is it is revenue from marketing. So ROI percentage equals revenue from marketing minus marketing costs divided by those marketing costs multiplied by 100 to get a percentage. So for example, if you spend $1,000 on marketing a product and that gets you $5,000 in revenue, then your ROI is 5,000 minus 1,000 divided by 1,000 times 100 or 400%. That means
Neat.
for every
Can we
what?
put this up on a
No.
whiteboard?
Yeah. Sorry. I wrote a blog post about this today. Luckily, so I'll
Yeah,
share
because
that.
it's easier to see, especially when you're
Yeah.
doing a
Here you go.
formula calculations.
Yeah. Here we
It's
go.
easier
So
to be able to see it. There you go.
yeah. Yeah. So this is how you figure it. So basically, in our scenario, they spend $1,000 and earn 5,000. Then that means for every $4 they get they earn $4 for every $1 spent. In other words, so 400% return or
That's a
4x.
great return. 4x
Yeah,
return.
yeah. Um, all right, so let me stop that. Okay, so let's see here. All right, so ROI, understanding ROI is extremely important if you're going to do things like scale a business or, budget, right? ROI is like that. Those three letters are like music to a CFO's ears, I think, right? Like, especially as a marketer, if you can convince your CFO that there is going to be a return on the investment, then they're going to be perked up and listening, and wanting to know how,
Oh.
right?
And I
Um,
think if you're a one person business, then the CFO is you as well. So
yeah,
you have to think in multiple brains. Um, there's that entrepreneur and the visionary is that person who's all excited about, oh, we're going to change the world, we're going to do this, we're going to do that. But then that CFO side of you has to think about, well, where is the money going? And is the money that we're spending effective? Is it actually working?
yeah,
Um, yeah, so
yeah.
we
And
have to
so,
think with both of those brains.
yeah. And at a CFO, is all about looking into the future. They're calculator crystal ball, right? They want to know
Mhm.
where things are going, what it's going to look like in the future, so that they can budget and inform the CEO and so on and so forth. And everybody
Mhm.
gets happy, right? And setting up your KPIs attached to the business goals, et cetera, et cetera. All right. So speaking of KPIs, um, those, of course, that means the key performance indicators. So, what are some key metrics that we track for success here in this case? Um, and there are some that um, are not tracked. These are not tracked using normal GAAP accounting
Mhm.
procedures, and so that's important to understand. It's kind of you're peeling back the layers and really digging into the core of where the money's going, right? And in this case, one of those is customer acquisition cost. So how much does it cost you to acquire a customer? And that's kind of what we were talking about earlier with, factoring in the cost of alignable plus how much time it's taking you, putting a dollar amount to that helps you to kind of figure out, assuming that you're getting customers out of that, how much it cost you to actually acquire that customer, right? There's other things that go along with that too, like you might want to track the cost of your marketing tools that you're using, whatever that may be, like a CRM, for example, so on and so forth. But the the actual there's another formula for customer acquisition cost. This is much simpler though. It's just the total marketing spent, how much you've spent on total marketing, and divided by the number of new customers. That's how you
Okay.
figure it.
So would you calculate that within a certain time frame, like a month or quarter or a year?
You can, you can.
Yeah.
It's probably handy to do that, so you can kind of track it through a year and just kind of have a look back and see, you know, that can actually like tell you if certain habits of your consumers are maybe seasonal, they're related to the seasons. Especially this time of the year, people who are doing bookkeepers and tax consultants are their business is
Yes,
going
this is their
crazy right
high
now, I'm sure.
season, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah. They're
Whereas
probably
like if
making all
you're
their money right now, and they can rest the entire rest of the year almost, right?
right. Um,
But
yeah, and then like oh, this is actually a fairly good time for teachers too, because it's the start of a new semester for schools. And
yeah,
they can get their if you're a teacher and you're selling lesson plans, say to other teachers, then this is a good time for them. Whereas when summer hits, the teachers are out, they're not thinking about school, they're ready to lay it all down and head
yeah,
off for summer vacation. So
yeah,
then
yeah,
your lesson
totally.
plan business tends to has a nice lull in it.
Absolutely. Unless of course it's a year-round school, which are becoming more and more common.
Yes.
So
Yes.
then they only get a couple weeks off in the summer, I think. Uh, but anyway, going along here, another KPI, an important KPI to measure is the lifetime value of a customer. Sometimes it's known as CLTV, CTV, or LTV. They're all the same thing. Um, Customer lifetime value, lifetime value. So this is the total revenue that a customer generates over time spent with you, assuming that, during the time that they are considered a customer or client, right? Obviously, a higher LTV means you have higher amounts of loyalty and greater long-term success. Um, Businesses like your kitchen bath remodelers, for example, that tend to be project based. This is one of those things that they suffer with because a lot of times it's kind of a one and done, and we hope they come back eventually, but hope is not a strategy, as they say. But um, I would think in your case, Candy, you're talking, you have much more longer lifetime values
Right.
for sure. Yeah. So ways that you can track that would be, CRM. There's various tools out there that can help you. This customer started on this date. They are continue to be a customer. This is how much revenue we've generated, and during that time. And as the saying goes, your best customer is the one you currently have. So, uh,
Right.
finding ways to, improve their experience and increase your bottom line, go hand in hand in that case.
Yeah.
Um, another important thing to track is conversion rate. So going along with customer acquisition cost is, um, the especially with digital marketing, this is like one of those key outputs, KPIs that are often used. So it's the percentage of users that complete a desired action. So let's say that you want them to come to your website and make a purchase of some kind. How many actually came to your website and how many actually made a purchase when they came to your website? Um, Going along with that would be how many times do they come to your website before they make a purchase? That's important to know. Um, and it's going to be different depending on the industry, obviously. I Let's see here. I'll show you. I have a handy little chart here in my blog post. I'll go back to that real quick. All right, so this is like benchmarks for different industries. So e-commerce, software as a service, retail, professional services, B2B, healthcare, real estate, kitchen and bath remodeling. And this is 2 to 4x, so 2 to 400% on. So this is like an expected, the expected return on the investment for marketing specifically. You can kind of see by far and away, real estate and SaaS have everyone else beat,
Yeah.
Pretty interesting.
It's the nature of their business, right? When you set
Yeah,
your business up on a SaaS platform, you're depending on it every month. It's not something that
yeah,
you just willy-nilly decide to leave.
yeah,
In real
exactly.
estate as well, right? You're leasing a building for your bakery or for your piano studio or whatever.
Mm,
It's not something um, that you're gonna just walk away from on a spur of the moment, right? It's something that's
mm,
integral to your business and you need it, so you keep it a whole
yeah,
lot longer.
yeah, exactly.
Mhm.
The SaaS model, one of the reasons it tends to have a higher ROI is because it is a recurring revenue model, usually subscription model. And so you get much more value out of a long-term customer, and that's incredibly important in that case. Again, this is kitchen and bathroom modeling. That's kind of like one and done situation. Although if you do it right, you could make them into more long-term and increase that CLTV.
Right.
Anyway, okay, so let's keep moving here. All right. Now, why do we want to align our KPIs with our goals? What's the advantage there? Um, so one thing is, it kind of depends on what the goal is, of course. You know,
Mhm.
um, if you want to increase your brand awareness, for example, then you're going to want to track things like impressions, you know, um, website traffic, that kind
Things
of
in
thing,
reach. Yeah.
large amounts of people. Yeah, and you could run awareness ad campaigns as well. What kind of um, analytics can you get out of that, and what are the results? Um, that tends to be more of like a casting a wide net in that case, right? You just want people to know that you're there, and
Mhm.
it's kind of it's the top of the funnel, right? The tofu, as they say. Um, and so tofu.
I
Um,
haven't heard that one.
yeah. Um, and so when you tie in your KPIs to the goals that you're trying to reach, then it helps you to figure out what exactly it is you're going to measure and how, right?
Right.
And then obviously how you can improve as well. That goes in there. And then of course, if you have that figured out, you can decide where you're going to apply your funds, right? Your
Mhm.
resources. That could be
Yeah.
time, that could be money, that could be both. Tracking this kind of stuff and knowing the results is going to be key here. So, and the one going back to the example we talked about earlier, coming to alignable, networking with people. Well, what is the goal there? What are you trying to accomplish? How many people do you need to meet? How many people do you need to talk to in order to have your desired outcome in terms of the number of sales and that kind of stuff? And you're not really going to know that very well unless you've tracked, historical. Otherwise, you just kind of, well, let's see what works. And there is kind of like a baseline setting time period there early on in the business. But uh, historical books should be able to tell you this kind of stuff. Okay, let's see what else. So data driven, right? Know what, excuse me, know your numbers so that you can know what path to take. All right. What else? So Candy, what metrics do you use to measure your success?
Uh, we track all of the leads that we get from various companies' referrals. We track them from the first contact until resolution. And sometimes that's emails, texts. We keep count of how many times we contact the person, what percentage rate or the increase or the move-ins, things like that.
What is the sales velocity? How long does it take from first point of contact to conversion
It's
to
usually
customer?
4 to 6 months.
Okay, so you have a much longer
Yeah.
sales cycle. Yeah,
I mean, sometimes
yeah,
it's a shorter period of time, but for the most part, you really have to kind of finesse because it's not usually an urgent situation that
yeah,
we're dealing with.
yeah. Like compared to like a dentist office, for example,
Right.
right? It's like basically you're there and you're gonna
It
pay or
takes
not,
a
right?
lot of nurturing.
Yeah, exactly, exactly. Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's where having that customer success, a great customer experience is going to come in handy because that contributes to reviews, testimonials, then that feeds into
Sorry.
no problem. All right. So do you feel that the metrics that you're using? So okay, it sounds like your primary channel is referrals. Is that right?
Mhm.
Okay. So is that, do you feel that tracking that is aligned to your business goals and that you're
Oh, absolutely.
that's doing it for you? Okay. I'm curious to know if you've tried other channels or,
Yeah, we actually just started about a couple of months ago with some different options that we're working on. The Facebook ads, social media, all of that.
okay. All right. All right, good. So finding the right metrics to track is important, but it's not without its challenges, as I'm sure you're aware. So let's look at some of those common, probably the most common obstacle, which is attribution. How in the world do you attribute where this customer came to you from? And in your case,
Mhm.
it sounds a lot simpler.
Right.
So you're keeping
If you
things
only
simple
have the
over
one
there.
channel,
Yeah,
you know where everyone's coming from.
yeah.
Uh,
But
that makes
there
sense.
is there is such a thing as multi-channel approach, right? And if
Right.
you're looking to get into that, then it's going to be important to be able to track all that and where they're coming from. Um, so so going along with that is this idea of what's called multi-touch attribution. And if you're using a multi-channel campaign, then you're going to need to know and track, all the different touches along the way, and so on. It's what you choose, like the model that you choose, is somewhat arbitrary. It's just you pick it and stick with it. But there's different types of models available. So, for example, you have first click. So the first time that they clicked on something,
Mm-hmm.
track from there, like social media, for example, maybe an email, or last click. Those are probably two of the most common, right? Last click tends to be probably the most common because it's the one that usually ends up in the purchase, right? Especially they hit that buy now button, right? In your case, that it's a little bit different, I'm sure.
Right.
Um,
And we also
then there's yeah.
text.
You do what now?
We text. People love text.
Yeah.
SMS, yeah, yeah.
Yeah, they do.
Mhm.
They do.
Absolutely. So are you tracking the text then?
We are, yes.
Okay. You're using some kind of a centralized CRM with SMS capabilities?
That is correct. And
Gotcha.
we do get a lot quicker response from a text than the emails or the
Oh yeah.
phone
It's like
calls.
a 90% read rate, I think, for text.
Yep.
So
Yeah.
yeah, odds are very good. Um, there's also what's called a linear attribution. So that takes the credit and divides it equally along all the different touch points. There's
Okay.
time
S-
decay. Oh,
So
go ahead.
Nate,
Yeah.
before we move on to time decay, but talk about like especially like with the linear attribution, um, why would you divide it among the different channels? Like, what's is it because of a particular complication or of attribution? What's that about?
Yeah. Let me see here.
I have heard that there are times when, say you're running Facebook ads
Hmm.
and uh, a person sees your ad and so it's gotten some reach. They may not have
Hmm.
engaged with it, they may not have clicked on it or anything, but they saw the ad, so
Hmm.
they're a bit primed. And then a previous client of yours mentions you to that person, so that's like a second time they're hearing about you. And then they're searching on Google for something and your company pops up, and then they decide, oh, you know what, this looks good, and they decide to click on your link through Google. Well, which one gets the credit? Is it the Facebook ad? Is it the is it the person
Yeah.
mentioning you to them, or is it the Google ad or something,
Yeah.
um
It,
is your SEO working really well?
hmm I, it's hard to say. Um, I'll show you
But
this.
is that the reason for doing the linear attribution, kind of disseminating that clients coming in to all channels? Because the whole reason we're doing this, right, is we want to know which channels are sending us the most clients, which ones are working for us when it comes to our ROI, right? Are the
Right.
ads working the best? Are the referrals working the best? Is Google working the best? Um,
Yeah.
but if that person saw all three, they're kind of all working because they're all touch points, right? When we look at that
Yeah.
7-11-4 model.
Hmm. So maybe linear attribution might be used in the case where there's uncertainty in the which is best, you know, for whatever reason. Maybe, it has to do with the way you're tracking it. If there's a certain amount of uncertainty, then you just say, well, we're just going to make everything equal. And we want to know every touch point regardless. And maybe you're trying to build up historical data around that. And then like maybe like the first year, we're just going to lump everything together. We just want to know how everybody, like the journey that they took to get to us. And then the next year we'll start weighting it.
Mhm.
Maybe that could be a possibility, especially if you're not sure of how many different ways they're getting to you,
Oh,
like
right. Because if you're,
asking people, for example, asking people, how did you hear about us? People are
yeah,
notoriously bad about knowing that. And
right,
usually what ends up happening is they just tell you the last time they saw you, not the first time, because they don't remember,
right.
you
They don't remember
know?
exactly.
And so how do you go about tracking that and
Like, oh, I clicked on
accurately?
you. I found you on. I did a Google search, and you popped up.
Yeah.
But they actually saw an
Yeah.
ad first. They actually heard about you
Yes.
from, and they also heard about you from a friend.
Yeah. So if you're in the process of trying to just know what are all the channels, then maybe that would be where you're using linear attribution because you don't know how to weight it yet, maybe.
Yeah.
So that might be a good one. So time decay is another one. That's where the most recent and the historical, right? So when did they first come encounter with you, and then the most recent encounter with you, and hopefully you are using more accurate ways to track that, right? Using pixels and so on and so forth. But that is where I think the digital marketing revolution has been like that is the most important advantage, I think, in my opinion, of digital marketing in particular, is because you can track everything, right?
Right. Exactly.
Although that being said, there's all kinds of roadblocks there as well because you have Apple and the privacy settings, you have Google and Facebook talking about, well, we're going to do away with, third-party pixels and those kind of stuff. So In a
Send us
perfect
back into the
world.
Stone Ages when it
Yeah.
comes to our marketing
Yeah.
analytics.
Mhm.
Ah,
So the way I break it down, excuse me, you can have like a limited insight. So and this is where you're combining qualitative and quantitative. So you're getting, you're asking your customers and getting their information. That's like that using the intangibles, right? Intangibles and the quote unquote tangibles, the hard evidence from all the tracking that you're doing. So you have limited insight where you don't have really good customer feedback. You don't have performance analysis. You have customer centric where you are emphasized and looking at only what the customer is saying and getting their feedback about your product or your service. You have the data driven focus where you're only looking at the data. You're not taking into account what the customers are saying. And then the best strategy, in my humble opinion, is where you're combining all these together, right? Well, these two. This one is kind of the opposite, right? But
yeah.
so
We want as much insight as possible.
exactly. All right, let's
Yeah.
get out of that.
Mhm.
All right, so let's keep moving on here. We talked about that. As you can see, it is relatively complex to track the customer journey and how they're getting to you. Digital marketing was supposed to simplify things, but like I said, all kinds of wrenches have been thrown in there.
Have you
Um,
heard of the rule of one? I think
the
for
rule of one.
people,
Nope.
yeah, people who are just getting started, um, it's important not to overcomplicate it because it can
Yeah.
get complicated. Um, but the rule of one states that you have, in order to get to $1 million, you have one offer, one customer, one sales process, one funnel for 1 year. And if you are going through like one sales process, especially one sales process and one funnel, then it's easier to track how people are moving through your system because you really are only working with the one sales process. And that's not to say you don't have multiple channels, right? Like, is Facebook working better than Instagram, better than TikTok, that kind of thing? But you want to bring them all. You may be using like multiple channels as far as your outreach, but you're bringing them into one funnel, one channel, ultimately. So I think, yeah, like as a beginner, and maybe you have these multiple social media channels, but the message is pretty much the same on all of them. So if it's working or not for sure, for sure. If you're getting people reacting or getting people interested.
Yeah,
I think like
maybe you should say one at a time, rule of
one
one
at
at
a
a
time,
time.
right? Yeah, so like you get one channel going well and it's working well, and then
Yeah.
you add another one, and then you add another one, and then add another one, and then you can kind of then it gets more complicated from there. But like you add one at a time and kind of um
Set it up so
yeah,
you're tracking it,
so yeah,
and
Right,
find
and it
out.
doesn't become so overwhelming to you,
Yeah,
trying
right.
to do
exactly,
all at one time.
How do,
exactly,
the old saying, how do you eat an elephant, right? And one bite at a
right.
time, as
One
they
bite
say,
at a
right?
time. Absolutely,
Um,
absolutely. Because there's so many people who are and so many business owners who don't track this stuff, and they don't have a way of looking at all their numbers. And so it's so talking about KPIs and ROI can be like very overwhelming, but start with one start with one and look at those numbers and get familiar with how the numbers relate to each other, you know. Um, and then you're adding as you go.
Yeah. Um, that's good. That's good. All right. So there's different tools that you can use to track along the way. One of them is like a UTM parameter, urchin tracking mechanism. I don't know if you're familiar with that, but it is,
I'm not familiar with it, but I see it everywhere. You know,
yeah, it's a
you
company.
click on a link somewhere, and
Yeah,
next thing you know, it's a very long link, and it says UTM at the end, and
right.
tons of data after it.
Exactly. Yeah, there was a company that Google bought in their early infancy and turned it into their own protocol, basically for tracking things in Google Analytics, especially. You can track it in other things too, but Google Analytics was kind of like the pioneer in using it.
Hmm.
Um, I'll just show you this real quick. Uh, this is my UTM tracking sheet. There's a lot of them in here, but it's, I have this spreadsheet. I can share this actually, but it will automatically create a UTM link for you. You just
Oh, nice.
plug in the information here that you want to track, and then it
Hmm.
spits out the link here. And so you can kind of see this is all the different places that I have links set up so I can track when people click on it. And then this shows up uh, in a couple of different places. So I can go to my website and I can create what's called a pretty link, and you
Hmm.
use a pretty link plugin for my WordPress website. So that
Yeah,
looks better when you paste this, right? This looks
right.
intimidating. You don't want to just paste that anywhere. If people are actually
Yeah,
going to see the link, then it's better to make it look pretty. That's the
yeah.
idea. And then you can track it using pretty links on your website, but then also it shows up inside of Google Analytics then too.
Okay.
Um, so when you're looking at source, you can actually look at your analytics results and filter them by source, medium, and campaign
Okay.
inside Google Analytics.
Oh, yeah, definitely
Um,
send that to me because
yeah,
I need to set that up for a client of mine.
yeah, yeah, pretty handy.
Oh,
And so yeah, there's others too that you can use, other methods, but that's just kind of one of the easiest, cheapest ways, honestly. It's just like no cost involved. Just you tracking it and making sure you're keeping everything straight on it, right? And
yeah,
knowing where everything is. Like put it on your Google Business Profile, for example, so you know how many people are clicking from Google Business Profile to get to your
yeah.
website. Um, all right. So I know it seems like a lot, but we're here. Our job is to demystify this for you. Um, and there's things that you can do to help you along the way here, which we just kind of started touching on here. Um, One of them would be to use one of these multi-touch attribution models to get a better grasp on the customer journey, how people are getting to you, so that you know where to focus your efforts. I had one client come to me, just as an example. I had one client come to me, and she said, well, I asked her, how are people finding you? And she said, well, people are telling me that they'll do a Google search, and I'm the first one that comes up. And so I did a little bit of research and looking into it, and she was not appearing first. Basically, short story, long story short, I guess. And it's kind of indeterminate exactly how people were getting there, but she thought that it was through her Google Business Profile specifically, but I was able to show her after we tracked it for a while that, how many people were actually seeing it, and then how many people are actually clicking through and that kind of thing.
Mm.
So, yeah, and it wasn't as many as she thought. So, um, so then it comes, the question is, well, what do I do, right?
Oh,
How do I fix
yeah.
that? So, um,
And where are they coming from? Because if they're not coming from
right.
Google, then maybe she's finding success elsewhere, but she doesn't know where.
Right, right, yeah, and that's just as bad, honestly, because if you
Right.
don't
You
know
want
where,
to
how
double
do you know?
down
Yeah, you want to
on
be able
what's
to
working.
put more effort into that, right? Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Um, All right. So implementing multi-touch in your campaigns, looking at reviewing and updating your KPIs so they better, fit your goals. Using A/B testing, that could be an email, it could be an ads, like Simone was talking about earlier, to find out, hey, this one's doing better than this because I made this tweak here, right? Or I made this tweak
Mhm.
there.
And
There's
funnel
always room for
pages.
improvement when it comes to that kind of
Yeah,
thing. Yeah.
yeah.
And there's all kinds of tools out there that help you track that as well. So, and then, look at the ones that are underperforming and then, figure out how to fix them. The channels, I should say. That's what I mean. But
Really.
yeah. Do you have any other tips, Simone, for that?
Um, no, not really. Just but those are very good tips. You know, I think the thing for us is that um it helps to create a system within us to go in and check these numbers on a consistent basis. Um, because I can set up a split test for a funnel, but if I don't go back and check to see which one is actually which page is actually working the best, um, then I can have it just running with the one that's underperforming still being shown to people. So yeah, one of the things that I thought of this week was that when you put these systems in place, we also have to train ourselves to use the systems.
Mhm.
Because otherwise they won't work for us. The systems only work if we work them.
Right. Exactly.
Yeah. So
All right. Let's see here. Candy, do you have any other questions or what's your key takeaway here so far?
I don't have any questions, but I really think that the tracking methods, that we're using are maybe lacking. So I might need to tighten up on some of the ways that we track and some of the information that I'm
Yeah,
receiving.
yeah,
And really working toward combining all that information so that I can know where to spend those dollars and
exactly.
where they're going and which one's going to bring me those returns. So it's been very helpful.
Yeah.
mhm.
Here's a link to that UTM sheet.
Mhm.
And I did not write it, so the author is attributed in this version. What you do
Okay.
is you click on that link, and I don't know if you're familiar with Google Sheets or Google Docs,
Mhm.
but you
Yes.
go to File, create a copy, make a copy, and then you can save your own copy and edit it. So that's in view only mode, so you can't edit that one. But um, so yeah, that'll help get you started there with tracking. Just out of curiosity, are you tracking things like customer acquisition costs, lifetime value already, or
No,
okay?
but those are really good points and things I really need to look at.
Yeah, and sometimes it can be hard to ferret that out too, especially if your
Yes.
company is only doing, GAAP accounting. You're going to have to do some digging, I think. Um,
Mhm.
hopefully you have you're tracking things in your marketing,
Yes.
specifically, which will definitely help you there. But let's see here. What else? Okay. Um, I think that pretty much does it. I put a link there to the blog post that I wrote as well. Um, if you're interested to check it out. There is a little case study I did in there of a client. We did some SEO work with them, and just show you that real quick. Um, Basically, the short and sweet is generated over $150,000 in revenue, 146% growth in traffic, 648% increase in website clicks from the SEO work that we were doing. And if we did the calculation here, if he spent $5,000 on to get over 150,000, that's a 2,900% ROI. That's not bad.
Great ROI. Absolutely.
Yeah.
That's what I want to see.
Yeah. Where kitchen and bathroom modelers normally are, 400 to 800% ROI. He's getting 2,900. That's pretty darn good. So yeah.
Yeah.
All right. Simone, anything else? I think we're about 5 minutes left here.
Yeah, I think we've covered everything. Thank you for watching. So we talked about how important it is to track your numbers, and what numbers that we should be tracking, and what tools are available for us to use. These things are important if we want our businesses to scale and grow. And thank you so much for watching. If you are interested in more, definitely reach out to uh, to Nate and I, and comment below your biggest takeaways, and what you're measuring, and how you're doing with that, what channels you're using, and share this out and subscribe to our channels.
And get in touch with Candy if you need help with your long-term housing needs for your seniors.
Yes, please do.
Absolutely. Absolutely. All righty. We'll see you next time.